Okay, we're going to go over the steering setup, how to make steering on your sand reel for you guys out there that need a little help. So this is your basic rack and pinion. This is a AC 425152 billet rack and pinion end load. So this rack and pinion is just bolted to the frame. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a special mount bracket right there. It's welded right to the frame, the crossbar. You bolt it on, and then this particular one has a 5/8 36 spline outlet on it right here. This little stubby shaft. And then on that, you're going to attach either a U-joint or a steering coupler. Okay, so on my setup here, I've got a Charlynn setup, so I've got power steering. So this thing right here is actually a steering coupler. It's 5/8 36 spline, and then I've been welded onto a U-joint. Okay, so this U-joint here, you don't have to weld this coupler to this. You could just, some of these U-joints will come with the proper spline to just bolt right on. You can there's a little lock set screw right there, so it'll lock onto your spline output shaft on your rack and pinion. So you're gonna either use a coupler and weld it to a U-joint, or just take a U-joint directly to the rack and pinion. And you come up, and then in my setup I have a Charlynn, so I've got a couple of special Charlynn adapters. This is a special Charlynn coupler right here. Since I have a Charlynn, I have an extra U-joint, okay? But without a Charlynn, this U-joint here would basically be the same as this one. So the steering shaft, this long steering shaft, in most of your guys' rails is gonna come right into this U-joint. So as you come up the buggy, you're gonna come to the cockpit area. Okay, so this is where you're gonna put your second U-joint right here, right in front of your bearing carrier, steering shaft carrier, I'm sorry. So these come in different varieties. This is just a tube, special tube welded in. It's a little smaller. It's set up just for your steering shaft. Most people are gonna use either a 7/8 or a 3/4 steering shaft. I sell it, but it's real expensive to ship. So you're better off just going down to your local metal shop and just grabbing some 3/4 inch tube or pipe. So anyway, then you're gonna have your steering shaft hanger. Mine is just part of the crossbar, but I do have ones that you can weld on. One of the important features of this is that you want to use a shaft collar. Okay. I really recommend having one on both sides, but in my situation I had to just use a couple spacers in there to make it fit, because the shaft collar was not thick enough. So anyhow, that's how that setup works. And then you're gonna come and send another steering shaft through. This is one of my quick disconnects. I really recommend them. It makes getting in and out of the buggy much easier. You don't have to have one. I do have a flange that's got a 3/4 hole in it that'll go to a 3-bolt Grant setup, right? So it's just a little round disc that you can weld at the end of that steering shaft, and then it has the 3-bolt setup. So, but I always try and advise people to get these steering quick disconnects. It just makes your life much easier. So that's your basic setup. I mean, obviously I do have a Charlynn, so it's not exactly perfect if you're trying to do regular steering, but you get the idea. I mean, you want to use, main thing is you just use a U-joint up here by your steering wheel, and then a U-joint down here by your steering box, and that's all you need, 2 of them. So I also do have some high angle U-joints. So some of the buggies nowadays, the cockpit it's much more forward in the car, because these guys have these big V8 rails, and so they have to kind of counterbalance the weight, so they pull the cockpit closer. If you're on a rail like that, you're going to want to use a high angle driveline, or you can clock your rack and pinion so you don't have too much angle coming up to your steering wheel. Anyway, thanks for taking a look. Sandparts.com.